Welcome to BioLabs PRO's informational webinar. Thank you all for joining us today. We're excited to kick off this educational series designed to help you better understand bioidentical hormones, their benefits, and how they can support your overall health and wellness. At BioLabs PRO, we're passionate about providing high-quality, science-backed solutions, and we believe education is just as important as the products themselves. That's why we're partnered with leading experts to bring you the latest insights and research in the field. For our very first webinar, we're honored to welcome Rudy Dragone, a pharmacist and one of the foremost experts in bioidentical hormones. With decades of experience in hormone health, Rudy has helped countless individuals optimize their well-being through personalized approaches to bioidentical therapy. Whether you're new to bioidentical hormones or you're looking to deepen your understanding, today, this webinar is for you. We'll be covering key topics, answering our frequently asked questions, and shedding some light on what makes bioidentical hormones such a powerful tool for health and longevity. With that to be said, let's jump on in. Let's get to it. Before I introduce Rudy, we're gonna introduce Matt. Matt, you wanna pop on? How's it going, Matt?
Sure,
Can you hear me?
Thanks, James. I appreciate it. My name is Matt Scamser. I'm the founder of BioLabs PRO. Our motto is Smarter Health and Aging. We're a manufacturer, and we sell our own brand of topical and supplement health products, again, helping people with smarter health and aging. Our mission is to help 10 million people live healthier lives by 2030. And we plan on doing that with innovative health products and with content education, which this is part of. So we're a natural products manufacturer, and the person we're bringing on is a good friend, trusted advisor, friend of the company. He's, when we have questions, when we have advanced questions, when we're working with other doctors, other labs, whatever, we like to bring in Rudy. He literally wrote the book on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I have it right here. He's been an expert for over 30 years in the field, close to 40, pharmacist, entrepreneur, owned multiple compounding pharmacies. Such a great resource, such an awesome guy. I'd love to introduce Rudy Dragone now, or bring him on. And he's got just a plethora of information for you. So listen closely, and we're going to answer a lot of awesome questions today. So thanks, Rudy, for joining.
Thank you guys for having me.
Awesome. Well, Rudy, before we begin too, I'd love if you could just take about a minute or two. I know Matt was already talking you up, but if you could share a little bit more too about your past experiences, kind of a little bit more about Rudy himself, your history. We'd love to, have listeners here.
I had a very interesting career so far. When I was younger, I was put in as an indentured servant, 9 years old, 1972 in the pharmacy. And so all I've ever done my whole life is working with pharmacy. In 1998, I had 10 pharmacies, sold them all to be able to retire, but had this passion and this love for bioidentical hormones that was started into me. I should say the fire was started in me when I was working in one of the pharmacies years and years ago, back in the 90s, when a woman came up to me and she said, "Can you fill this prescription for me for progesterone suppositories? I've been to 50 different stores and no one has been able to fill it for me." And I said, "Sure, no problem. I've been compounding all my life. I'll be more than happy to fill it." And I made 200 milligram suppositories for her and for progesterone. And she came back 9 months later and she said, "Rudy, I want to introduce you to Rudy." She actually named her child after me. Well, subsequently, I was hooked. Okay, I was hooked because I never saw so much power in the medicine that I had been dispensing for, all the years that I have been dispensing. And as time grew on, after I sold my stores, I wanted passion. The passion wanted to grow. And I said, who's got the best brains in the world as far as bioidentical hormones are concerned? And at the time, it was Jonathan Wright in Washington, and Roby Mitchell in Amarillo, Texas, and Dr. Terry Herzog in Belgium. And so I took as much time as I could and went to visit all of these guys and learned as much as, read all their books and learned what they had to say. But if I can show you my hand, one person had this knowledge, and another person had this knowledge, and a third person had this knowledge. All of these things were different, and the base was the same. But these things, what were really intriguing me. So in '98, I started a telemedicine company called Profile Health, and we took care of about 30,000 patients. And of those 30,000 patients, all we did was bioidentical hormones. And the patients taught us more than the books did, than the experts did, because they come back with problems. And when they come back with problems, you have to figure them out. So if someone said to me, are you a bioidentical hormone expert? I'll say, if anyone claims that, run. Because if you really learn, okay, about bioidentical hormones, you realize that there is so much more to learn. Well, no matter how, I've been doing this for 30 years and I still don't know everything. But we learned a lot of pearls along the way, and we've been able to help a lot of people adjust themselves. So whatever I learned, I try to give out freely and try to teach as many as I can. That's who we are. Okay, that's who I am. Okay, and so fire away. Ask me any question you want. And
that's beautiful, Rudy. I think the cool thing is this is a little bit of insight to our viewers of what we get access to you on a regular basis. Your wealth of knowledge, and so now we get to take some of our most frequently asked questions and be able to kind of show the listeners what it's like to firsthand get those answers from you. I think the very first thing that people have always asked us is if they just don't even know, if this is people's introduction to bioidentical hormones, one of our most commonly asked questions is, well, how do you adjust hormones? There might not even know if there's key indicators that show that they're deficient in something. How would you go about when someone approaches you about kind of just getting to the bottom of whatever they're going through and adjusting their hormones?
The first thing I always ask is for everyone to test their hormones. And it's the same test for both men and women. There's an estradiol test, there's an estrone test, two different estrogens. The estrone one, when it goes out of whack, when there's too much of it in the body, that's the one that can cause cancer. That's the one that causes a lot of problems. Also, when you have too much estrone in your body, it throws down the estradiol effect. Then there's DHEA, there's progesterone, there's testosterone, there's cortisol, there's vitamin D, and there's a thyroid panel that should be checked. All of those things are necessary for me to give a good evaluation. Depending on what the symptom is that a person is having, I could usually say to you, well, make sure you check this particular test or that particular test. Simply put, people come in and they say, I don't have any energy. Okay, that's one of the biggest main complaints that people have. I lost my zest for life. That could be testosterone. That could be DHEA. That could be thyroid. Okay, so you need to test everything to be able to see where you want to get started. Okay, that's the first thing. As far as adjusting them are concerned, if you get started on a program, and let's say you are taking a certain amount of DHEA, a certain amount of testosterone, how much do you know is the correct dose for you? Okay, everybody's different. So if someone had, for example, came in with and for men, let's just talk about it, testosterone is typically from 234 to 1100, okay? If a person's coming in and they're 300 and they need more testosterone and they lost their vigor of life, yes, I may recommend increasing their testosterone. But to me, I want to see where their estrogen is. If their estrogen is too high, I first want to get their estrogen down as far as men are concerned, and then increase their testosterone. So it all depends on the individual. I have to see where their levels are before I'd be able to give them the appropriate response. Okay?
That's awesome. I would even say, at BioLabs Pro, a lot of the people that we deal with on a day-to-day basis are predominantly women. And a lot of the times they don't even know what if they should even start with bioidentical hormones, or if they should start supplementing with BHRT of any kind. What are the indications that you are the most obvious, in women, that is a sign that they should be starting to, you start using hormones?
Okay. Not so much that they need to start using hormones, but that they need their hormones adjusted. Let's start with that. Okay. Typically, over my career, what I found is of the people that come in for hormonal adjustment, 70% of them are women. 30% are men, and that's because the women are dragging them in. Okay, it's the guys because as far as I'm concerned, you know, every guy that I ever spoke to, he's 70 years old, he's at the water cooler, and he's not going to be there talking about his erection. Okay, he's not going to be there talking. Women talk about problems all the time. Men don't. As far as everybody concerned, he's 19 forever. Okay, but when we look at the problems that women are having, especially nowadays. There's another pandemic, and the pandemic that is going on now is lack of vitamin D, okay? When we look at the younger girls that are having problems, they're making the right amount of estrogen, they're making the right amount of progesterone because the same follicle that makes the estrogen makes the same amount of progesterone, okay? So it's the same, it's the yin and a yang there. Problem is that you need vitamin D. And since the late, I'm going to say 90s, there's been a hysteria that the ozone layer is being depleted. So we have to put sunscreen on to be able to stop skin cancer from happening. And it's causing all of these young girls not to have enough vitamin D. Vitamin D is necessary to activate the progesterone. So yes, you're making the right amount of estrogen. And yes, you're making the right amount of progesterone. But because there's no vitamin D, the progesterone doesn't seem like it's there. So they're getting a lot of estrogen and no progesterone. Even though it's in the body, it's not functional because of the lack of vitamin D. That causes them to have high amount of PMS. So they go to the doctor. And what does the doctor do? The doctor puts them on birth control pills. Okay, why? Because they wants to negate the whole situation. The truth of the matter is most of them only need to get their vitamin D up. And interestingly enough, especially since we just went through a pandemic, you need vitamin D to be able to fight viruses. So not only is it going to help you as far as getting their hormones readjusted and rebalanced, but getting vitamin D up to where it's supposed to be will also help them fight against the pandemic. Okay. Yes, the pandemic is pretty much gone, but you never know when the next one's around the corner. And if it is around the corner, you need your vitamin D up to be able to fight it. That's the first thing. Okay.
That's awesome. An interesting thing for the people who might be this their first time learning is you're throwing out a lot of these actual, like the hormone names, such as the progesterones, the estrogens, DHEA. Is there a difference between, specifically, we talk about bioidenticals a lot, but I mean, a lot of the times people come to us confused because there's synthetic hormones, there's bioidentical. Can you briefly explain the difference, in your opinion, your preference between the synthetic hormones and the bioidenticals?
Sure. What happened was we isolated hormones many, many, many years ago, you know, probably 100 years ago by now. And, you know, there would be people that had no energy and were given bull testicles to eat. And all of a sudden they got this energy back. Why? Testosterone that was being put into their bodies. Okay. They realized that high amount of estrogens are found inside of horses' urine. And they got Premarin came out with pregnant mare's urine. That's what it comes from. Premarin, pregnant mare's urine. Okay. And they concentrated and they found that this was alleviating a lot of the symptoms because it was giving them estrogen. The problem is you're not a horse. Okay, so I say human hormones into humans and horses' hormones into horses. The synthetics were developed because you're not allowed to patent anything that is found in nature. So you can't get a patent for water, but you can get a patent for the bottle, and you can get a patent for not having any plastics in the bottle. But as far as hormones are concerned, they said, how can we make the chemicals that we know are doing certain things for the body stronger? Because now if I add a CH3 group onto it or a COOH group onto it, and I find out that I can make it stronger, having more of an effect of a particular symptom, well, now I have something I can patent. Okay. Ergo, here comes ethinyl estradiol. Okay. And that's what's in most birth control pills. Okay. We find that by able to patent it, now I own it, now I can make money on it, and so on and so forth. But if it's bioidentical, even though it's the exact same thing, that is found inside of your body, it doesn't matter. I can't patent it. Well, what happens to the synthetics? Well, since it's so much stronger, and they're sometimes even 200 times more stronger, they lead to more aberrations. They lead to more problems. They lead to possibilities of cysts, fibroids, and cancer. Okay, and over time, all the hormones got bundled in together and said hormones cause cancer, and that's not true. The synthetics have a higher probability of creating those aberrations that can lead to those problems. So do different chemicals that we find inside of our food chain, okay? But hormones themselves do not cause cancer, because if they did, then every 16-year-old on the planet would have cancer, because you never have as much testosterone as you do when you're 16 to 18 years old as a male. And you don't have as much estrogen as you do when you're 16 to 18 as a female. I mean, that's the reason why you go from a girl that looks like a tube to a guitar shape. Okay, her breasts come out, her butt starts coming out. She makes all the secondary sexual characteristics of a female all come out. Why? Because she's making a ton of that estrogen. Okay, so if hormones cause cancer, then everybody would have it when they were teenagers, and nobody does, or most people don't. Okay, the ones that do get it at that young age is because of other things that have happened to them, either predisposition genetics, different things that they were exposed to, different chemicals that they were exposed to that caused this to be able to happen. And remember, testosterone will not cause you to have cancer, but if you have cancer, just like you're using the testosterone to develop your body and to grow your body, okay, it'll also grow the cancer. So that's why you shouldn't be taking it when you have cancer.
You said that with testosterone, Rudy, but it's estrogen as well, correct? So
I use
breast,
that
breast growth, breast cancer growth.
I use that particular hormone for that particular example, but you're right. All of the hormones, if someone came to me and said, I have cancer, okay, what would I recommend? I would say nothing. Don't give you anything, okay, at this moment.
Vitamin D.
Okay, vitamin D, yes, okay. But at the same time, okay, I would want to see where your hormonal signature is. And if you said to me, for example, let's say what we've known is when we've given certain estrogens to tissue, that we find that some of the metabolites of estrone have been able to cause 200 times more DNA splits, more aberrations than other estrogens. So if you said to me, I don't want to take any hormones, but this is what my labs show, and I see a high estrone content, I'm going to put that person on DIM to stop them from making any more of those metabolites. I'm going to put them on chrysin to stop any more estrogen coming on, and zinc to be able to block them from having all of those hormones and decrease the amount of the offending agent, okay? Probability is that if you have cancer and you decrease the amount of the offending agent, that the cancer will go down. Now, can I prove that? Have we had patients that we've done this to? Yes, we have. And we've been able to shrink certain cancers by lowering the offending agent. But you first have to identify it and see what is causing it. Okay?
Of course. Well, I'd like to just go a little bit deeper into that because, I mean, you're not surprised because you've worked with thousands of people. But when we hear a very common thing that people come approach us with, and they say, why are you guys, doing what we do? Why are you advocating for bioidentical hormones? They think that all hormones cause cancer. And I was wondering if you've provided some charts that we'd love to throw up there. Can you explain a little bit further too about just even maybe some of the body's natural processes and why some of the misconceptions are that all hormones cause cancer and why that's not necessarily the case?
Okay, first things first, we have to, let's think you have 100 people in a room, okay? And I say to you, we're going to give everyone a glass of toxic waste. And we know that if you drink a glass of toxic waste, that everyone is going to get cancer because it's radioactive and everyone will get cancer. There'll be no takers for that, thank God, okay? But the truth of the matter is that we know for a fact that if 100 people drank that toxic waste, 100 people would get cancer. 100 people are exposed to radiation, 100 people are going to get cancer. But at the same time, if we take those people and we give them a 1/1,000,000th of that dose or 1/4,000,000th of that dose, and we decrease that dose so much that there's hardly anything left, the probability of any of those people getting cancer goes way, way down, if any at all. So the fact is that if you're given cards, and let's say, that's a perfect example right here, okay? There's another one, the one before this that has a normal cell. Can we put that one up first? This one, there you go. We have a normal cell in green, and we surround it with something that is good, like water. Let's just talk about water. We're giving good, wholesome water, and we'll designate that with the blue circles. The good probability that if that's good food and that's good water, that cell is going to stay healthy and it's going to stay normal. But on the other hand, if we take that same cell and we surround it with those toxic chemicals, whatever they may be, whether they be hormones, xenoestrogens, whatever causes that to happen, if you get surrounded there, then there's a good chance that that is going to turn into a cancerous cell. The X's are going to bring into the cancerous cell. That's just the way things are. Okay, you cannot help that situation. The more you get offending agents, the more you get things that are going to be causing problems, the higher the probability of that thing becoming a cancerous cell. End of story. If you now get to the other one, the other slide that we had, if we look all the way to the right, the one that's filled with all the blue zeros. Those blue zeros are the good food, the good water, okay? Yes, we're going to get some plastics in our body. Yes, we're going to get certain things that, inhale gasoline that's coming out of people's, tailpipes. So you cannot escape having some bad of the, we call it bad estrogens, but they're really bad xenoestrogens, okay, that are found inside of our body. But there's a still good chance because of all the O's, we're drowning out the effect. Then you get older. And as you get older, you're in the middle one. In the middle one, you're accumulating more and more of those bad chemicals. And you're making less and less of the good ones because our bodies are breaking down. What happens? If you go to the doctor and the doctor puts you on, for example, Premarin, okay, pregnant mare's urine, you're now filling the body with those X's. You may get rid of certain symptoms, but overall, look at what you've done with where's the probability of something happening to you? Where's the probability of you leading to a cyst or a fibroid or even cancer? It goes up, okay? Our contention is, if we could switch to the next slide, the one that has this is where you started with. This is going to happen to you because you're getting older and you're aging and you're being bombarded with systems that you are not responsible for. Okay, you are not responsible for seed oils that are found in all over your food. You are not responsible for the exhaust that are coming out of the most amount of cars that the human beings have ever had on the planet. Okay, and all of the exhaust and the burning of coal and everything else that's happening. Okay, even the electric cars, okay, are coming up with all of, how did you get them? What all the mining that had to go through to get that? All of that's been put up in the air. I'm saying at least if you're going to have these things that are hitting you, why not drown some of them out by putting the bioidentical hormones that you had back when you were younger back into your system? And when we do that, people come back to us and they say, hey, I haven't felt this good in 10 years. I haven't felt this good in 20 years. I've never felt this good. Why are they saying things like that? Ford cars. Oh, you have Ford parts. You're putting the Ford parts back into the Ford cars. You're putting the Chevy parts into the Chevy cars. Not the horse's urine, okay? The stuff that should be the exact bioidentical signature that was there when you were younger. Now, if you don't do it correctly, okay, you can still have problems. But the idea is that if you learn how to measure the problems and slowly increase the doses, you'll be able to take care of whatever problems you may have. I hope that clarifies it to you, why synthetics are a problem and why bioidenticals are really the solution.
I love that. I love how you...
So you talked a lot about epigenetic toxicity is what I call it, the factors in your environment that are creating a lot of the toxicity that leads to a lot of diseases, chronic ailments. But you also compared the synthetic to essentially toxic chemicals in a way, right? So the synthetics can act in your body very similarly.
It's not me. It's not me that's comparing them, okay? Look at the PEPI studies in 2004. Look at the HERS study in 2005. What they did was they compared how do people feel, what are the toxicity, what are all the problems that were given, and they used, Premarin, they used medroxyprogesterone, okay, and then they used Provera, and they started using the regular bioidentical estrogens, and the difference was night and day, okay, and then they shut down the study, okay. So the minute that there was a glimmer of hope for people, they shut down the study. I was there. I fought when the FDA was there, and they said, okay, no more bioidenticals. They shut it down. Okay, we're going to shut down bioidentical hormones. Okay, 70,000 emails, faxes, and calls an hour to the FDA, not by me, by people. People were calling them and saying, hey, we want this back. Okay, there was a big fight. It almost ruined me several times. It's interesting because when you look at those things that they wrote up, at the very bottom, there's the names of the lawyers. And the names of the lawyers were all the people that are on the payroll for Premarin. Okay. And they can't hide that because they have to put those people on there. Okay. But that's who was doing it. Premarin was a $3 billion a year market. And by the way, the FDA gets 15% as a usage fee. That means they get $450 million to police them. So I'm now going to police you, but you have to pay me $450 million. Okay. Am I policing you or protecting you?
Yeah.
Okay. That's just, I mean, I don't want to get into it, the whole politics behind it, but all I can tell you is that I've seen the miracles happen with the bioidentical hormones.
Wow.
And I use them myself. Okay. And I recommend them for my family. Okay. Because I've seen what they've been able to do and how they've been able to help people. Okay. But it has to be done wisely.
Yeah, I don't think we successfully talked yet, and I don't want to jump the gun, but I know we talked about a bioidentical being as closely identical to the human body as possible, but I don't want to jump the gun on your questions, but where is a bioidentical actually derived from? Because you talked about horse's urine in Premarin, and then you're saying, well, we need bioidenticals close to humans for humans, but we're not extracting that from humans, and we're not extracting that from ourselves. Correct.
It doesn't.
It comes from nature, doesn't it?
It does come from nature. They come from the soybeans. It comes from the Mexican wild yam. But it doesn't matter what plant that it's coming from. You have to understand, okay, that by the time it gets to be the bioidentical, if I took the testosterone that we're giving them in a bioidentical cream, and I took the testosterone that came from my own body, and went like this and said to the lab, which one came from the lab and which one came from the bottle, they could not tell it apart. It's identical. It's bioidentical. It's exactly the same chemical that you find inside of your body. There is no different, as opposed to synthetic, which would be like methyl testosterone. Well, that has a CH3 group attached to it, really easy to identify. This is synthetic. If you look at the estrogen that comes from horses, equilin, okay, real easy to check it. You check it and you'll see that the substrates are different than estradiol. If you look at the ones in birth control pills, ethinyl estradiol, okay, you will see a different group that's on there. Like you look at this one here, synthetic hormone, okay, and you'll see the COOCH3 group, and you'll see a CH3 on the other group, that it's not in the bioidentical hormones. It's not in the human hormone. Why? Because you cannot patent it. Once I add those other ones, now I only need 1/200th of the dosage to be able to give you the same effect. But over time, you're going to have one particular substrate that causes problems with breast tissue, another particular substrate that causes problems with endometrial tissue. Am I going to tell you that if you take this 100%, you're going to get endometrial cancer or breast cancer? No, but the probability goes up. It's all about playing cards. If we looked at health and we said to ourselves, what is health? Health is nothing more than a deck of cards. Half black, which is good healthiness, okay, and half red, which is disease. Our goal is to remove the red cards and add as many black cards as we can. In so doing, the probability of having these problems go down. I'll give you, for instance, I had this one lady came in. She said to me, she goes, I'm sick and tired of the way I'm being treated. I'm sick and tired of doctors. She goes, I had 7 polyps that were removed from my uterus. So I went back to the doctor, and then I had 8 polyps removed from my uterus the following year. I'm done doing the hormones that way. I want to do bioidentical hormones. I got her on bioidentical hormones. We got her all dialed in. She was feeling great. She goes back to the doctor. She had 1 polyp. And she came in and she started screaming at me, why do I still have a polyp? And I'm like, man, you went from 7 one year to 8 the next year. The probability is you're going to have 9. We took away a lot of the problem-making situation. Didn't take it all away, but we reduced the problem to the point that you have 1 polyp, and hopefully next year you won't have any. Okay, but you understand that what I'm doing is we're shifting from here's the chance. I'll ask you this. This is center. This is stage 1 cancer. This is stage 2 cancer. This is stage 3. This is stage 4. What's this? What's this? What's this? And what's this? You know what these are? These are the time it's going to take before you get to stage 1. And if we use bioidentical hormones, if we use liver cleansing, if we take care of all of the hormones the way they're supposed to be, we keep pushing this number back. So this is 5 years. You're never going to get, for certain you're not going to get cancer. I want to live here. Okay. And we can do that by doing certain things.
That's awesome. It kind of goes into one of the next topics I had for you. I loved actually when we were on the previous topic, you were talking about synthetic, is people use the Premarin, and you tend to see maybe some relief of the symptoms, but you don't see maybe the negative consequences that might be soon to follow with those synthetic. Now, does that mean, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, does that mean now that I should assume that bioidenticals, I should just not see like as good of effects as I should see in the synthetic? When should I even expect to see those results? Similar to that patient that you just mentioned, there were some positive effects, and they were wanting to see a 100% polyp removal, and they want to see themselves to be exactly how they were before. In your opinion, when would you expect to see the results then with bioidenticals?
It all depends on the individual, and all depends on what symptoms they're having. I have 18 different symptoms that we can put up on the board if you want, to talk about what I gauge. Okay, this is what shows. These are the problems that people have, but we have a sheet that has the 18 different symptoms, different for men and for women. The questionnaire. Okay, if we can put that one up. Here we go. So when you look at this and you say, okay, irritability, fatigue, depression, headaches, hot flashes, night sweats, forgetfulness, weight gain, insomnia, joint pain, palpitations, crying spells, loss of bladder control, all of these are symptoms. So let's say somebody comes into me and they say, I'm really irritable, I'm ready to rip my husband's head off. Can you give me something? Okay. And I look and I see her progesterone is down to nothing. Her vitamin D is down to nothing. If her vitamin D is down to nothing, you have to build up the vitamin D for the progesterone to work as good as you want. Typically, I'll give a patient about 200 milligrams of progesterone, and they come back to me in about 10 days or so and say, I still hate my husband, but I don't want to rip his head off. Okay, I feel much better. Well, that irritability also goes hand in hand with insomnia, because progesterone binds to the same nerve centers of the brain the Valium does, the GABA receptors. So what will happen is it'll help them sleep. So they'll come back to me and say, oh man, this has really helped my sleep. This is the best things that I've ever used. I'm now sleeping about 5 hours a night. And I go, that's not enough. You need to be able to sleep a good 8 hours. Why? If we can sleep 7.5 to 8 hours, then you get a chance to recharge your adrenals. And then your adrenals can make the proper hormones. If you're not sleeping, you're never going to be able to recharge your adrenals. So looking at the symptoms, you increase the hormone dosing slowly, okay, to be able to bring, so irritability goes from a 10 to a 7 to a 5 to a 4 to a 2. And at a 2, leave it alone. Within 2 months, it's gone. So if you look at all of these symptoms, there's no reason why anyone should live with any of those symptoms. And subsequently, when you get rid of these symptoms, other things get better. For example, if I look at irritability, depression, and forgetfulness. Forgetfulness is a substrate of pregnenolone. The body makes from cholesterol, it'll make pregnenolone. From pregnenolone, it goes down to the cascade of different hormones. When you don't have enough progesterone, the body will steal its own pregnenolone and change it into progesterone. And now that person starts to have short-term memory loss. As I slowly build up on the progesterone with certain people, a couple of months down the road, they come back to me and go, does this help with short-term memory? Because I feel like my memory is really good. What we've done is we've reached a level of progesterone that's inside of the body that no longer needs for the body to steal the pregnenolone from the body to make more progesterone. And now the pregnenolone stays as pregnenolone and their short-term memory comes back. Well, you just asked me, how long does this take? Depending on the symptom. If a person we were talking about, the symptom was short-term memory loss, I just told you that it took about 3 months to get that to where it's supposed to be. So if you said to me, well, how about other symptoms like irritability? I said to you, 10 days, all of a sudden, that person came back to us and said, you know what? I don't hate my husband anymore. I don't want to kill him anymore. So depending on the symptoms,
Exactly.
depending on the symptoms, we can, headaches, for example. I had one lady come in and she had one of the 3 best headache specialists in Phoenix. And she says, here's the doctor's phone number. And I get on the phone and the doctor says to me, he goes, in your opinion, what would you give her? Because if you think you can get rid of her migraines, I said, I would try 150 milligrams of progesterone, but I need for her to be tested. He goes, I give you authority, give it to her. So we made up the prescription for 150. She went into the bathroom and actually put the cream on. And she came back out. And within 15 to 20 minutes, I saw her face start to turn pink again. And she goes, my headache's gone. I'm cured. I go, no. I go, if you're not cured, see how long it takes. And it actually took 18 hours before the headache came back. So I said, during this part of a cycle, the luteal phase of her cycle, when she was having these terrible migraine headaches, I recommended 200 milligrams because if 150 takes care of 3/4 of the day, which is 18 hours, 200 milligrams should take care of the whole 24 hours. And I said to her, when do they start? And she goes, the 5 days before my period. I said, Doc, I'd like you to give her progesterone 200 7 days before her period until her period gets there. And subsequently, she had no more migraines. Okay, so depending on what is happening, you need to be instructed on how to be able to use the hormones correctly. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Of course it does. Yeah, thank you, Rudy. I'm wondering then too, a follow-up in addition to that is there any correlation with where the bioidenticals are taken or applied? Do you have a preference? I mean, I know that we talk about creams a lot, but like, what are your thoughts on even the different methods that people take the bioidenticals? And then is there a correlation on how, like, your optimal use of how they're absorbed into the body?
Yes, the best places to put hormones are on the inside of the arms, okay, the sides of the body, and the inside of the thighs, okay? So I tell people Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and go back. And just keep going around the clock, okay? Best right after a shower in the morning. But if you shower at night and you want to take it in the morning, because most of the hormones are taken in the morning, then you want to apply a hot towel onto that area, turn the skin red. And the minute you put on the cream, you'll see that it turns white again, because all of these hormones are steroids. And one of the things that steroids have are they cause a decrease in inflammation. So no matter if it's red, all of a sudden you put it on and the redness will go away. And that means that it's being absorbed.
Awesome.
Okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
And that's in contrast, Rudy, to, other prescriptions that could be injections. A lot of people do suppositories, or they do, what is it called when it goes under the skin?
Oh, subcutaneous injections?
Yeah. Well, not the injections,
Pellets.
but the pellets, right? So those.
Oh, no,
very.
I'm against pellets.
Yeah.
Matt, I'm against pellets. I'm against injections, and I'll explain to you why. I get the patients after they've been on that therapy for many years, and then they come to me, and I see estrogens of 3,000. Okay, and what happens is this: there's a few things that happen with any of those things that are depot shots. What you're looking for is a depot shot, and it's not under the skin. It's usually like in the muscle, and whenever you do a depot shot, the body has going to increase it way above what it's supposed to have inside the body. The depot shot gives way, way, way too much. And when that happens, you decrease receptor sites. Let me explain this, okay? Let's say I had a pool table, okay? And on top of the pool table, you have 16 balls. Those 16 balls represent hormones. The 6 holes represent the receptor sites where these hormones go into, okay? If you put a depot shot in there, it's like putting 100 balls on the table. The body tries to protect itself. So what does it do? It closes off 5 of the holes. As it closes off 5 of the holes, those 100 shots, 100 balls, will still get one. When you throw it across the pool table, one of them will still sink, okay? And you'll get some kind of action. But over time, you keep shutting down receptors that doesn't work. And so what happens is the doctors have to keep increasing the dose and increasing the dose and increasing the dose and increasing the dose. Now, every time you increase the dose, many things happen, one of which is you're only allowed, the liver monitors all of this, and it says you're only allowed a certain amount of steroid hormones in your body. And if you have way too much of it, then what happens is the liver starts to cleave from the bottom. And eventually you'll get to some hormones that you have very, very small amounts inside of the body. It wipes them out completely. The tissue that is being regenerated by that particular hormone is no longer being attended. And now you have a problem. How do I know this for a fact? Have you seen that, like, there are bodybuilders, and the bodybuilders are out there and then muscle. Then they go to do something and they rip an Achilles tendon. Or they break a tendon in the arm or something. Why? They're making muscle so much that they're not paying attention to the hormones that build ligaments and tendons. And so you got big, beautiful muscles, but you got very weak ligament tendons holding them. They'll break. And so what good is the muscles? I call them show muscles, because you can't really push them too much because they'll break. Okay. And it's just for looks, nothing else. They're not functional. And it's the same thing with other things. You need to have a good, even keel dispersion of the hormones, but they're supposed to come in and they're supposed to go out. Think of a maid, okay? You have a maid when you're at a hotel room. You get out, you go have breakfast, you come back, your room's all made up. Good. She came in, she did the room, and she's gone. Testosterone goes in, does its job, then it pulses out. The DHEA does its job and takes care of ligaments and tendons, and it comes out. And then estrogen, it goes in and goes out. And all of the hormones are coming in a little bit at a time, doing what they're supposed to, and then getting out. When you take a depot shot, you're having it there all the time. Could you imagine going into your hotel room and the maid's there, and the guy who's washing the windows are there, and the guy who's washing the thing, and they're there all the time, 24/7. Okay, is that what you want? Because that's what you're having when you have those big depot shots. Not the way.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Rudy. One of the things we thought would be really cool is if we could pop up that chart right now, our very next chart with the other hormone symptoms. We wanted to kind of have you take a look at this and kind of maybe these are probably the most common symptoms that people come to us with on a daily basis. And I think from your perspective, it would be great to kind of just, maybe even just pick apart.
No problem. Sure. Low sex drive is low testosterone. Okay. Erectile dysfunction could be low testosterone, but sometimes it has to do with problems with circulation. Enlarged prostate, that's too much estrogen inside of a man's body. Estrogen causes breasts to grow. Estrogen causes prostate to grow. Weight gain, a lot of the people that have weight gain, especially in men, they have it around their midsection. The midsection is usually due to, again, low testosterone, high estrogen. Fatigue, low testosterone, low DHEA, low thyroid, okay? And irritability is mostly high estrogen compared. Men should be 40 times the testosterone that there is of their combined 2 estrogens. And when you start getting to like 7-to-1 instead of 40-to-1, men start to grow breasts. So when you go to the beach, and especially you guys out there in California, and you see all the guys with gynecomastia, that's because they have too much estrogen. And it's not about not having enough testosterone. So I've had many a patient where they've come to me and they say, I need more testosterone, I need more testosterone. Well, give me more testosterone. And I look at them and I go, this one kid in particular had a testosterone of 725. And I said, you don't need more testosterone, but your estrogen combined is 100. So you're at 7.25-to-1. Let's give you some DIM, let's give you some chrysin, let's give you some zinc, especially if you're drinking a lot of alcohol, because alcohol is lost through drinking. A lot of I'm sorry, zinc is lost through a lot of drinking of alcohol. And so if you perspire a lot, the guys going to the gym, they lose a lot of zinc, and they don't replace the zinc. So what happens? The zinc is an aromatase inhibitor. And so if you're having a lot of testosterone and you're aromatizing it into estrogen, and you have normal amount of zinc, that will block that from happening. So this one particular guy, I'll never forget, we gave him a bottle of zinc, 100 milligrams, 90 tablets inside of 3 months. His testosterone went up from 725 to 800. His estrogen went from 100 down to 20. He was only 22 years old. His breast disappeared, and he was no longer having suicidal thoughts. Wow.
Powerful.
Okay. So when I say to you supplements to be able to change hormonal signatures, that's what I'm looking for. Not so much just giving you estrogen, giving you hormones, but helping you readjust to what is supposed to be there. I'm sorry,
Rudy, I just want to clarify something real quick, because I know we're not doctors. You're not really a doctor. When you say we, you're working in conjunction with a lot of doctors, as we do. So a lot of doctors come to us to make products for them, which you help advise us to make products for certain doctors. Thank you.
Correct.
So the doctors will kind of ask us to make certain kinds of products for them. And you were a compounding pharmacist working hand in hand with the doctors who are asking you for advice. And then you guys would kind of come up with a solution together, correct?
Correct. And what happened was at one time when I told you I had the telemedicine group, I employed 21 doctors. And they were working for me. So as they were working for me, I asked them for all of them to, when they got the results back for every patient of those 30,000 plus patients that we took care of, every patient that came by, I wanted to see where their levels were. And I wanted to talk to them and work out a way so that together, okay, two heads are better than one, to be able to give them a therapy, okay, to be able to manipulate their hormones back to where they're supposed to be. So I always say we, and it's because I can't write prescriptions, okay, but I can talk to other doctors. And just this morning, I had a doctor call me and go over 3 different patients with me, and they were thyroid patients, and some of them were reverse T3 patients, and people that have other problems, okay. But we went through everything, soup to nuts together, okay, on those 3 patients, and he took what I had to say. I listened to what he had to say, and together we came up with a formula for them to be able to keep going forward and getting better. Whole
person health. What a novel idea.
Yeah, no.
It sounds like you were way ahead of your time when it comes to integrative health, functional medicine.
Back when it was, we just, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I was working with a doctor named Bill Lee, God rest his soul. He came up with the idea, and I followed with him, okay, on how to test for inherited heart disease. And right now you'll see things, one of them is Lp(a) that we were dealing with. 2004, that was 20 years ago, okay? And we worked with the Phoenix Fire Department, and one of the tests we're doing is Lp(a). Right now I went through Facebook and I see there's a new marker out there for inherited heart disease. It's Lp(a). I go, you're 20 years too late, pal. We've been throwing that out for 20 years. Okay. And now it finally gets sued. Well, it's the same thing with the hormones. 30 years ago when I was talking about readjusting hormones, and this is the way to do it. You have to first take care of the thyroid, then you have to take care of the vitamin D situation, then you have to make sure you clean the liver. That's top number 1. Okay, all of the different things that I had said that had to be done now are coming to fruition, and everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. Okay, so, but it's too late. We've been talking about this for 30 years. And now we're getting notoriety, but had we had a little bit of help back then, we would have been so much far along, and so many people would have been able to benefit from it. And now, but at least they're getting it now, so I can't complain.
That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, Rudy, I want to respect your time that you have. I've been so thankful for all the insight, and excited for us to continue to do some of this where we just give you just question after question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rudy.
But I would wonder, could we leave the listeners with maybe your final thoughts? Is there hope for someone who might be just starting their journey, or someone who's maybe been in the midst of it for years and still hasn't figured it out? What would be your final takeaways to kind of to leave the listeners with?
First things first, I want to tell them, get as much information as you can. Learn. Okay, don't trust what I have to say. Don't trust what the experts have to say. Do like what I did. I went to the 3 big experts and I said to them, I want to learn as much as I can from you. And then I realized that they had things that they were falling short on. Everybody falls short on. And I started this by saying to you guys, anybody claims to be an expert, run, because 30 years I've been learning this and I still don't know everything. Could you imagine? How can that compare to someone who had, even if they had a full 40 credit, 3 credit course in school on bioidentical hormones only, which they don't, okay, It's a part of the, endocrine system, okay? But even if it was only 40 hours, I've been doing this for 30 years and I still don't know everything, okay? Get as much knowledge as you can. And you have to finally start making the decision for yourself. Make believe it's the end of the world, but you still have the internet to be able to look at things, find the videos, see what's going on. I have a lot of videos that I put up on helping people. I have a 45-minute video on thyroid and how to be able to help people with thyroid. And it's important that you learn as much as you can. Okay. And then, find good products, see what you can do, test them for yourself, see what makes you feel better. And you'll see that there are a lot of good things out there. I wish I could be in everybody's ear. I wish I could be able to talk to every single one of you and let you know the benefits of bioidentical hormones on a one-on-one basis. There's only one of me, so that's impossible. Okay, but all I can do is give hope, and there's hope out there. So you can feel better. A lot of the autoimmune diseases nowadays, we've been able to help people with bioidentical hormones. Given the right bioidentical hormones, we've kept those autoimmune diseases at bay, okay? And I've actually reversed a lot of them. So there's hope out in the horizon. I just hope it doesn't take another 20 years before all of that information gets out there. God bless everyone.
Amen.
Yeah, Matt, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I appreciate your time, Rudy. I know we could do this for hours, but I think what we'll do, James, we'll run it back at some point and we'll hit them with another few questions. And I appreciate your time. I appreciate adding value to our audience as well as anybody who might come across these videos. So thanks so much, you guys.
Awesome.
Hi, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining us today for this insightful discussion on bioidentical hormones. We hope this webinar has given you some valuable information and a deeper understanding of how bioidentical hormone therapy can support your overall health and well-being. At BioLabs Pro, we're committed to providing educational resources and to help you make informed decisions about your own health. If you have any questions, reach out to us. You can send us a message at care@biolabspro.com, or you can even visit our website, biolabspro.com, for more information on bioidentical hormones and even some of our upcoming webinars. So stay tuned for some more expert-led sessions. Hopefully, again, we get Rudy to come back. And we look forward to continuing this journey with you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.